Thank you, thank you. So I worked out that I'm the first wasp on stage today. I don't even look as good as Hugh Grant either, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But I just had a DNA test, actually, and I found out that even though a lot of my DNA was Anglo-Saxon, I was 15% Scandinavian, so I should be at home here, and 2% Nigerian. So that pleased my mother. Anyway, okay, so talking about wasps, we're going to talk about two things which are super important. For people that don't know me, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Mynewsdesk. And you're going to have a lot of great sessions today on optimizing websites and SEO and form optimization and email marketing and stuff like that. All that stuff is great, but all that stuff to me is channels. If we don't get these two things right in our businesses and our marketing, then it doesn't matter what channels we use, we're in serious problems. So I'm really passionate about these two elements. And my objective with the session is to get you to think about your own marketing. You may come away from the session with more questions than answers, but that's kind of the point. So I'm going to try and give you my personal opinion on a couple of things and then delve into some sort of deep data and studies for you. So let's start with narratives. What the hell is a narrative anyway? So it's a story or a description of a series of events. That is what a narrative is. And I think for most of us, most marketers, how many B2B here? B2B companies? Quite a lot of us, right? How many B2C? Yeah, okay, cool. Narratives are important whatever you are in. And so here are the questions I think we all need to be asking. Where is the market today? Where is your market today in 2018? Where do we want the market to be? What does our product or a service that we're actually selling or marketing, where do we need to take that market? And this is your company narrative. This is the narrative that your company needs to deliver to its target audience. And it should be based on a cultural truth, particularly a cultural truth if you're in the B2C world, or an industry truth if you are in the B2B world. Who's not talking about artificial intelligence, right? That's an industry truth. And a product truth. Hopefully you're talking about what your product actually delivers. Then we've got these things. We've got personas. We've got the people that we're actually marketing to. The different types of personas and their pains, their gains, and their jobs to be done. So for those of you that have actually done the whole value proposition frameworks for your companies and products, do you really understand the problems that you're solving for these people that you're marketing to? And then where do we need to take these people? How are we going to solve these problems? And where they're going to be in 2022, for example? How are we going to go through that journey? And then in the middle, this is just the channels we work with every day. So this is marketeers. We need to improve. We need to optimize across all those different channels. I love the fact that Mailer came up and talked a lot about email marketing. For B2B, I think email marketing is one of the strongest channels in the world. I love it. But these are all channels. But the company narrative that goes across that, how are you taking these personas from A to B? And what's your story? I'll give you a solid example of how we've grown our business. This is the Mynewsdesk narrative. So we've been around now for quite a while. We're not a young startup anymore. We were, when I joined, 20 employees. We're now over 300. We have 750,000 users of our product. And we have used different narratives at every different stage of the company. So we started, and they're all important to our different customers. So we started talking about digitalization of communications, basically. That's when the company started. Then search engine optimization became a very important aspect for marketeers and communicators to grasp. So we talked much more about that. And of course, our product developed at the same time as these different industry truths. Then we had the whole explosion from sort of 2011 onwards of social media. A huge pain for communicators was social media. So both our product and our marketing adapted to that problem. How could we actually solve that problem for people? Then we had the wave of content marketing. More people were doing so much more with content. There was so much opportunity to engage with content at different parts of the buyer journey. How could we actually talk about that and help customers with that huge problem, which is a big area for us now? And actually, some of you will have seen that we've acquired sort of one of the world-leading social listening tools now called Mention. I'll talk about that right at the end of the presentation. But data and analytics. You know, we see more in our tool the data which says that customers are looking more and more about the data and analytics in our product. So our narrative is much more about data and analytics today. And we try to address these three very different personas. So we have Josephine over here, the professional communicator, that is more communications and PR focused. Then we have, how many of those do we have? PR people, communications people in this audience? Few, yep. How many people do we have that are marketing, see themselves as marketing managers or marketing people, basically? Yeah. And how many people, small business owners, CEOs? Yeah. So all three perfect personas in the room. But all of them have very, very different needs. For some people, it's time. For other people, it's return on investment. For other people, it's channels. So adapting your message across those three different personas and trying to help them get to where they want to is a fundamental thing for us to be doing. Let's have a quick look at trust. Sorry, these are two guys, two other WASPs, who I don't like to associate myself with, that have had some issues with trust over recent months. So the firm belief in reliability, truth, or the ability of someone or something. And I think when all of our products and brands are competing at that awareness stage, the beginning stage of any kind of buyer or customer journey, it's trust, which is going to get you into that chosen few products that people are going to consider, basically. So this has to be the key question that you're asking. How can my brand or my product be much more trusted than others? And I think here it's worth delving into some data. So Edelman's Trust Barometer comes out every year. And it's the largest study of trust over about 33,000 respondents globally, also done in Sweden here. And so there's some interesting takeaways from this year's study. So media is for the first time the least trusted institution globally. When they talk about institutions, they're talking about business, they're talking about NGOs, but media is, and think about it, you know, this was done, the measurement for Sweden there. Sweden, like the UK, is we're a very skeptical bunch of people. But for those of you that sell products over in Asia, the UAE, India, Indonesia, China, you know, over there, the media is very, very trusted. Now, not going to debate why that is, because I've got about 20 minutes left. But thinking that actually, and I wonder sort of after the elections in Sweden, how that figure, you know, is going to be. But actually, media is very, very distrusted today by us. We need to understand that. The other big thing that came out of the study was actually media was redefined. These 33,000 people were asking, what is media? How do we define media today? And actually, you have the platforms. So you have the search platforms, you have social, and you have, you know, whatever your chosen news apps are. That's one thing. But you have publishers. And one of the big things when people are asking about publishers, it's actually, yes, of course, it's journalists, traditional journalists, but brands take an even more important place in that publisher network. So brands are incredibly important, and the content that we are producing on a daily basis is really very, very important for the people that are consuming it. And then, of course, we have the whole area of influencer marketing, and I realize my presentation is not about influencer marketing, but how we use influencers and how we define influencers is going to be a very important thing. And you see there's a lot of crossover because, you know, a journalist could well be an influencer could well be a journalist, you know, a brand could be both an influencer. I think they struggle to be journalists, but, you know, some publications are good that brands do. But actually just establishing that we are publishers today is very, very important. But these platforms we talk about, are they trusted? And this study showed that actually for the first time, platforms, we trust far less in platforms than journalism. And this was quite interesting that in 2015 there was the peak of, I remember when this study came out in 2015, everyone was talking about trust in search engines, in trust in social. We trust those platforms so much more than, you know, traditional journalism that we read. And actually a very clear rebound, you know, following the Cambridge Analytica scandal, also following, you know, I would say, fake clicks debate on Google about actually, how many clicks are real and how many clicks are fake that you're actually getting, that there's less trust in the platform. So journalism is really rebounding, which I think is quite interesting. So is it the revenge of journalism and traditional media? I think it can be. I think a lot of people say PR. That's old school, right? Let's just do SEO. Let's do paid social. Let's do, and the number of entrepreneurs that I talk to, I'm on the board of several startups as well, and we say, what boosted your user numbers or your sales? And they say, oh, well, we got a bit of press. We got a bit of press, and suddenly, things took off. So I think it's an important part of the mix to kind of have a look at your PR activity anyway and see, what are you doing with traditional media? Because they're certainly, trusted. 2017 was a big year for so-called peer media or influencer and influencer marketing. And we see a lot of success, particularly on the Mynewsdesk platform. We serve about 100,000 communicators, about 5,000 brands, that people that are really integrating their Facebook and their Instagram channels with the content that they're publishing on Instagram, on Mynewsdesk, is getting huge reach and huge traffic. But I think the key question is, what is an influencer to your company and your brand? And looking at this, so who do we trust? What people do we actually trust? The biggest dive the biggest fall in trust shows a person like yourself. So a few years ago, we were talking all about, talking to people like ourselves, right? People like ourselves, peer groups, we really trusted these people. This study shows that we're really starting to distrust this. I think we're starting to really feel that we are in this bubble, in this echo chamber of social media. Do we really trust what this other person is doing in this paid promotion post? But I think the most interesting thing, and this has stayed constant for a technical expert or an academic expert, and I don't know if, is Johanna in the room from Microsoft? No? Is she? No, she's going to talk to you this afternoon. But I know they work very effectively with influencers, but not the person like yourself with those technical and those academic experts. So the question for you to ask in your organization is basically, is this person an influencer? Or is this person an influencer? And I would say that the most successful companies doing influencer marketing, maybe from a B2B perspective, I think it is very different in B2C actually, are people that are not concentrating on these type of influencers, but they might be concentrating on influencers with maybe a few hundred followers, but they're probably technical experts in their area. I know Microsoft, Johanna might talk about it later on, possibly not. They're really into AI influencers in Sweden. They might have, a few hundred followers in their social channels, but they are a technical expert, so they're going to be trusted. Let's quickly whip through this as well. Another presentation on trust, and this is a survey that's run every year for the most or the highest reputation, organizations with the highest reputation globally. And this is also, I think, talking about content marketing anyway, that what drives reputation is actually quality products and services. There's a super interesting survey also come out from Schibsted on native advertising, which says, you know what? It's okay to talk about your products. We've had years of this content marketing thing. We need to be a thought leader. We need not to talk about our products. We need to be up there in the funnel. No, actually now we have data which shows people are interested in your products. If they're great, you can talk about them. So start doing that. But you can't just talk about your products. What actually drives trust in your organization is stories about citizenship, about what you're doing for your local communities or how you're contributing to a better world, about your workplace. How many of you are producing stories there? So talk about your products. Don't be afraid of talking about your products. Don't just talk about being a thought leader, but also, look at stories in your organization that focus on citizenship or workplace. Here are some of the companies that so-called, have the best reputation globally. So we got Johanna coming in from Microsoft this afternoon. You've got Google up there. But I just wanted to take a very brief look at Lego, because I think they're doing some interesting things in a lot of different areas. So, and Lego has been consistent, really high performer. And again, their highest mark is in products and services. They talk a lot about their products, right? They're really proud of their products. But the other two strong areas are citizenship and governance. That's what's driving their trust ratio in their brand and their product. So let's have a look at how they do that. So they have this planet promise. They're talking about, building plant-based plastics. They're talking a lot about this and start replacing the source material that is in their plastics. And it's really aligning their purpose with their products, which is driving a lot of trust. If you look at what they're doing also in social media, they're actually doing a lot of really good things, both in paid and in earned social media. But they're doing education and inspirational content for both their customers, and I would say their customers are the kids, basically, but the people that buy the product, the sponsors, the parents. So they're identifying those two clear personas, basically, the parent and the kid. I still like playing with Lego, so and they produce content for that. Educational content for the parents that maybe the kids aren't so interested in. They also developing their own social platform, Lego Life. And they're using hashtags really well as well. Lego Ideas, they've created the Lego Ideas hashtag. But they're also doing traditional ads, basically, interactive Instagram ads as well. So they've got a very good mix across their different social channels. And as I said, I'm not going to talk too much about influencer marketing or micro-influencers, but I'm quite passionate about this. I'm passionate about finding experts in your area. And if you go onto Lego, you go onto the hashtag Lego Ideas on Instagram, and you look at some of the people that are there, they don't have hundreds and thousands of followers. It might be a toy shop in a particular location that has maybe 100 or 300 followers of their brand, but is immensely trusted in their local community and is immensely proud of what they do. And it's really, really interesting to look at the engagement on those posts versus if Lego went out and bought an influencer marketing campaign with, I don't know, Bianca Ingrosso. Maybe she's not your, maybe the other, Theo Walgren. Have a look at what Lego are doing there, because it's super good. And working with any type of influencer marketing, if you're looking at trust, and I think this is a huge issue that we haven't even seen the beginning of yet with influencer marketing. But what I would say is look at that niche, the subjects that they cover. So look at the niche, look at your niche, and the more niche you can get, the better, basically. Look at their audience, who they are, do they actually align with your brand's values, and where are they located? This is often a big issue as well, because they might be located completely different. Unless you're a global e-commerce company, if you're focusing on a geography, it's no use to you. And then content, what content are they actually sharing? Does it actually fit with your brand? And it gives you a little bit of control. And they care much more about their community than the cash. There are a few influencers there that only care about the cash. If you talk to a lot of B2C brands, some of you probably have this, that influencers get in touch with them these days and say, can I please post this picture and say I've been sponsored by you? I don't want to be sponsored by you, but it's just so I can build up my profile. That's the kind of sick thing that's going on right now. But use their personality to inspire and communicate. So, I'm starting to wrap up now. Ask yourself that question: have you really fully developed your company narrative? And I don't mean your positioning statement that you have or your H1 on your website. Do you as a company know your narrative? Do you know your personas, the pains and gains they have now, and the pains and gains they're going to have between now and 2020, I put 21, but within a few years. We can't do 10 years. We don't know where the hell we're going to be then. But have you actually mapped that? Do you know what the narrative is that you're focusing on? Develop key relationships with journalists that write about your industry. Rebirth that communications activity. It is driving trust. Develop your relationships with technical experts. See them as micro-influencers. What are the technical experts that are most important to your... and tell more stories about your company's products and citizenship. And I'll leave you with a few quotes. Trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody really notices. When it's absent, everybody notices. This is for those of you that are going into influencer marketing. I learned to go into business only with people whom I like, trust, and admire. But there's probably a stronger quote here, which is, when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. And I reflect on this a lot as a marketeer, and a marketeer that likes to talk. I probably don't listen enough. I think most brands don't actually listen enough to their communities. I met with one customer the other day, said we need to listen first, and then we only communicate based on what we're picking up in those conversations, what people are saying about our brands. Too many of us say, these are the key messages for Q1, Q2, Q3. This is what we're going to communicate without actually first listening. So I'm going to try and help you with this. As I said, a couple of months ago, we acquired one of the world's leading social listening tools, Mention. It's used by about 750,000 marketeers, community managers worldwide. And I thought to myself, what present could I give to the Internet in Focus audience? So, if you take a picture of that bit.ly link, this is your picture. I have given you access to Mention for free. Mention don't do free, and for those of you that are looking into web optimization, the page that you'll go through on that bit.ly link, so bit.ly 2R5T 6BP, don't click away from it because you'll never get back to the free offer because they don't have a free offer. It's a Google optimized page, basically. But you have access to that tool for free, basically, to play around with that. So that's my present to you guys to try out. And thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Was I on time?
Thank you. Yeah, you was on time.
Okay.
And I have actually, I didn't know about Mention, but I used it.
Such a bad marketeer, right?
Yeah.
I haven't told you about it.
I used it this summer.
Cool.
Because I needed it.
Yeah.
So thanks for the present.
Yes, good.
And here's a present for you.
Super good.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, thank you for a very valuable insights on how to establish trust with your customers.
Not as valuable as your Jaguar.
But how do you find those micro-influencers with 200-300 followers? Because you won't see them in your flow showing up. How do you work with them?
I think you will actually. You can find them in your in your flow. I mean, forget Mention, but you can use any tool. You can use a lot of different tools to look at social media. You can use hashtags that people are writing content about or are gathered around. You can see how people are actually, So you can search on hashtags what people are writing about. Basically, you can set up different filters in all sorts of tools to look at different people. And then go in and actually have a look at these people. They could only have hundreds of followers, but I think you can definitely find micro-influencers of your brand. Put in a topic into any kind of search engine and go down and have a look. Or start a hashtag, basically, and start promoting that and see what interest you get back. But the best micro-influencers for us, we've built from 20 to 300 employees or 750 users, have been our customers too. So concentrate on your employees, concentrate on your customers. They should be your biggest micro-influencers as an organization, and then do some wider social listening.
Thank you.
Yep. Cool.
Any more questions? Yeah, one more.
Hi.
So, yeah, hi.
Hi.
All of us in this room have been using, I think, Mynewsdesk in one or another way.
Thank you.
For a couple of years.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, as you showed us, maybe a tool for PR, for journalists, and so on.
Yep.
That's at least my image of it.
Yeah.
And so where do you see Mynewsdesk being at from 5 years from now?
Oh, 5 years. I think basically what we're doing, and I'm going to talk about this more in a few weeks actually in Malmo, an event called Mynewsdesk. We have access to huge amounts of data. So we serve, as I said, about 100,000 communicators, many of those across the Nordics. We have a huge amount of data on, the types of content that works, the times of days that people should be doing, the length of headline, the types of image and content. So the next stage for us is to apply a whole level of machine learning to that data and basically give really super valuable insights back to marketeers, PR people, small business owners about how they can improve their communications and ultimately grow their business. So if I had to sort of sum it up in 2 words, it would be machine learning, not artificial intelligence, but machine learning based on a lot of data to give you valuable insights. So it's much more on that data and insights piece so you can improve your communication.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Cool.
Thank you.